With Dragon Ball FighterZ only a few days from now, I figured I'd go ahead and do my own prediction list. I thought this was worth making because I would imagine they're going to start announcing DLC characters relatively soon, not long after the launch of the game, so why not start making my predictions now? I expect to get 6 of these right. That is my expectation. If you're new around here, subscribing is always appreciated. We're currently trying to hit 15,000 subscribers, so helping us get to that milestone obviously means a big deal. If you're not new around here, you already know leaving a like on the video helps others find the video. Now, let's get into the list. Oh, wait, I should mention, for those of you who are new around here, I am actually very new to the Dragon Ball series. I started playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, and I loved the gameplay, and I loved some of the characters I got to play, and I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to get into Dragon Ball. I've started watching Dragon Ball Kai, and I'm going to keep watching up until Dragon Ball Super, and then probably even beyond that. In fact, Dragon Ball FighterZ has done something pretty incredible, which has kind of gotten me back into the whole anime world. I've even started watching Boruto as well, which is crazy to me because I didn't think I was going to watch another anime after Naruto, because I did grow up on Naruto, and I did not like how Naruto ended, but despite that, I don't know, Dragon Ball FighterZ has managed to get me back into this world, so much so that I'm considering myself fairly passionate about it. Nothing's ever going to take over my passion for DC, because I love DC, but I also love this world. With that somewhat side tangent out of the way, let's get into the list. Starting off the list with Bardock. Of course, Bardock is going to make it onto my list based on just who he is, being the father of Goku, and I'm sure he has a fairly high impact on the Dragon Ball series. At the point that I'm up to in the story right now, he doesn't even exist. As far as I'm aware, he's supposed to be dead. I'm sure he's going to show up in the story again. Don't tell me how in the comment sections, you rascally devils, but surely he will. I mean, you just have to, right? He's the father of Goku, and I'm sure that he'll show up on the roster because it would be incredibly surprising to see him not show up on the roster. Another big draw for Bardock is that a lot of people are going to know the characters. Having the characters be recognizable is going to be really important for DLC sales, so you're going to see me talk about that a lot in this video, so that's one of the reasons Bardock is on this list as well, and it's the main reason this next character is on the list, Broly. Now, for those of you uninitiated like myself, you may have not known that there's actually a huge divide on the Broly character in the Dragon Ball fandom. A lot of people don't like the character, a lot of people like the character, some people think he's just a fine character and don't really have an issue with him one way or the other, but regardless, it is undeniable that the character is a draw and that he will probably show up on the DLC roster. It's also going to be interesting to see what they do with his moveset, just because of how large of a character he is, so I'm certainly looking forward to what they do with this character, and I wouldn't be surprised if I end up trying him for an extended period of time. Next up is Deborah, and I can't actually elaborate much on my reasons for having Deborah on this list other than the fact that I recognized him, so he must be relatively important. There's very few Dragon Ball characters I do recognize past the first 14 episodes, so those characters that I do recognize, they must be relatively important in some respect. And he is my least confident pick on this entire list because I know very little about him. That being said, this next character is also one that I'm not super confident in, and that's Raddatz. Why am I not super confident in this pick? Well, Raddatz isn't super strong. Maybe he shows up again in the series, but right now in the series, at least the part that I'm up to, he's not even there anymore. And he never really showed any true power. He had power compared to Goku and Piccolo at the time, but they weren't very powerful. So for him being a very weak character, how does he have room to show up in the Dragon Ball FighterZ game? Well, Yamcha's a fairly weak character, and so is the other humans like Krillin. Despite this, they're in the game, and they're relatively powerful characters. ArcSystemWorks seems to be okay with ignoring how powerful they quote-unquote should be in the context of the lore, and more interested in making an interesting moveset. And I think they'd be able to do that with Raddatz, and he's immediately recognizable to anybody who's ever seen even a little bit of Dragon Ball, because of course he is the very first villain we ever see in Dragon Ball Kai, and Dragon Ball Z, of course. Next up is Vegeta. Vegeta, I think, will absolutely show up in the game because, I mean, he just kind of has to, right? You've already got Goku in the game, you've already got Vegeta in the game, you've already got Super Saiyan Blue versions of each of them. Why not have Vegeta? Vegeto's a relatively popular character, he's involved in a lot of big story arcs that I'm actually not super familiar with, although I know that's true. He's also just going to draw by virtue of him being the character that he is, so I see no reason to not have him show up on the DLC roster. And the same can be said for Android 20. Now, if Android 20 does show up, I feel like they would also have to do Android 19. They've already got so many of the androids in the game, why not have Android 20 in there, especially because the story is going to be pretty revolved around androids, right? We've got Android 21 being a huge part of the story. I'm fairly confident Android 20 will happen, whether it be Android 20 plus an assist from Android 19 or something like that. Who knows? I just want it to happen. Next up is the one that I want the most on this list, and that is Khalifa. She's a Dragon Ball Super character, so I don't know much about her, but what I do know about her is that she's a female Super Saiyan, and that's just awesome, because in the world of Dragon Ball, we don't actually have too many female characters, especially female fighting characters. There's a few female characters, obviously, like Bulma and Chi-Chi and whatever. On a more grander scale, there isn't too many badass females in this world, and hopefully there's no one who's going to dispute that. They're very much lacking in the female department, and having a character like Khalifa on the DLC, even if you're not familiar with the character, is immediately appealing for everybody, because they're able to look at it, and again, even if you're not familiar with the character, they're able to go, hey, this character's cool, it's unique, so obviously this one's going to drive sales, and I would honestly be quite surprised to not see her show up on the DLC roster. And the final character on this entire list is one that's pretty difficult for me to speculate about because of my lack of familiarity with them, but based on what I've heard about this character, this is supposed to be Goku's biggest threat so far in the Dragon Ball series. Again, this is third-party information, so don't flame me if this is wrong, but it sounds like the only person in the Dragon Ball world who comes close to this person's power is Beerus. Obviously, I'm talking about Jiren. He looks badass, first of all. Again, I don't know much about the character, but he will have the draw for even the casual audience who doesn't know who he is, because I can tell you, as somebody who has no idea what this character is about, I want to play him because he looks so unique, he has such a cool color scheme, and he just looks badass. I would love to see this character show up, and like I said, he will definitely have the draw required. Also, they seem to be pushing quite a bit of Dragon Ball Super in this game. We've already got Beerus, and we've got the blue Super Saiyans and all of that stuff. We got Hit as well. I'm definitely feeling a Jiren appearance in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Again, I don't know much about the Dragon Ball world, but I feel pretty confident about these picks. We'll have to wait and see until they start getting revealed. Again, I'm hoping to get about 6 of these predictions right. My predictions are usually pretty spot on. For people who don't remember, I actually predicted the multiverse game mode before it was announced, which is pretty crazy because we hadn't had anything like that in Injustice 2. We had no rumors, no sneak peeks at it at all. I actually made that prediction purely off of the gear system, which we had already known about before multiverse even got teased. So I feel like that's a pretty strong prediction with the lack of information we had at the time. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name has been Bilbsy, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.